His mental acuity is great. It's fine. It's as good as it's been over the years. All this right-wing propaganda that his mental acuity has declined is wrong.
Leader Schumer, what do you say to Americans who feel as though you and other top Democrats misled them about President Biden's mental acuity?
No. Look, we didn't.
The Democrats are having a bad week. So Chuck Schumer, who is the Democrat Senate Majority Leader, the same guy who blocked $190 million of pediatric cancer research after it was passed by the Republican House, went on Meet the Press and got exposed and called out to his face for lying to the American people about Joe Biden's mental decline. And when the host asks him, should the American people be mad that he lied, his response is priceless. So make sure you guys watch to the end because this video is awesome. Now, if we could get this video to 5,000 likes, you guys know I would absolutely appreciate it. Now let's watch the host of Meet the Press play a video of Chuck Schumer from a year prior saying Biden was sharp as a tack and calling him out for lying. Watch.
Obviously, there has been a lot of focus on President Biden's role in this. You were obviously in close contact with President Biden well before the public tuned into that debate that ultimately led to him stepping down. I want to play you a little bit of something you said last year. Take a look.
I talk to President Biden, regularly, sometimes several times in a week, or usually several times in a week. His mental acuity is great. It's fine. It's as good as it's been over the years. All this right-wing propaganda that his mental acuity has declined is wrong.
Leader Schumer, what do you say to Americans who feel as though you and other top Democrats misled them about President Biden's mental acuity?
No. Look, we didn't. And let's look at President Biden. He's had an amazing record. The legislation we passed, one of the most significant groups of legislation since Lyndon Johnson's Great Society, putting in 235 judges, a record, and he's a patriot. He's a great guy, and when he stepped down, he did it on his own because he thought it was better not only for the Democratic Party, for America. We should all salute him. We should all salute him.
Do you feel, as we have this conversation today, that President Biden could serve another 4 years had he stayed in the race and potentially won?
Well, I'm not going to speculate. As I said, I think his record is a stellar one, and he'll go down in history as a really outstanding president.
This is why the American people lost all faith with Democrats, because they cannot admit when they are wrong. Like, people lie. We all lie sometimes, right? But you know what's more offensive to the person that you lied to? That when you're caught in your lie, you just double down on it not being a lie. You can't admit that you're wrong. We all could tell Biden was diminished back in 2020, and it kept getting worse over time. And now that it's been exposed in that Wall Street Journal piece that everybody in the White House knew since 2021 when he came in office, and basically let America be ran and governed by a whole bunch of unelected Obama staffers, like, dude, there's nowhere to hide. There's no cover for you to get behind. You have been exposed. Why not just admit it? And he, like many other Democrats, don't even understand that the things that they're bragging about are things that the American people don't like. Oh, he passed the most legislation since Lyndon Johnson's Great Society Act. You mean Lyndon Johnson's legislation that created a whole new handful of federal agencies, vastly increased the size of the federal government? Great, Biden. Thank you for expanding the government even more and wasting more of our tax dollars. Like, the things that he's bragging about are absolute failures. All of Biden's legislation greatly increased inflation and made everything more expensive for the average American. And we should salute him for what? For ruining our country, for allowing 2 major global wars to start, for pardoning his son when he said that he wouldn't, for commuting the sentences of 1,600 people who committed really heinous crimes, really bad crimes, not to mention that he commuted 37 people on death row, real, violent, heinous criminals. What are we saluting Joe Biden for? Now watch him say, the reason that the Democrats lost the election was our fault, the voters. We just didn't know what they did for us. We were just so uninformed. We're so uneducated. We're just stupid MAGA people. Watch.
Democrats have said this is a real reckoning after losing the White House, the Senate not winning back the House. Here's what Democratic strategist James Carville had to say. He wrote, quote, "We lost for one very simple reason. It was, it is, and it will always be the economy. Stupid." Do you agree? What do you think was the root cause of Democrats across the board loss?
Well, look, I told my caucus, and I'll say it here, too. We should regard this election, certainly it was a loss, but it's also a challenge. But we did some things wrong, and we have to look in the mirror and see what we did wrong. And then there's some things we didn't do that we should have done. One of the things we have to do is we must focus on the working families of America. We believe in them. And we passed all kinds of legislation that helped them. So we did a lot of good things, but all too often, Kristen, we talked about the mechanics of the legislation and the details of the legislation, and we really didn't show the kind of empathy and concern to average, or show enough of it to average working families who didn't realize how much we had done and how much we care for them.
Great, you spent a whole bunch of money. See, that's the problem with Democrats. All they know how to do is spend money. They think the solution to everything is throw more money at it. And that's why we have a $2 trillion deficit. When you have a blank checkbook that is backed by the American people's hard-earned money, you have no incentive to spend it appropriately. That's why I'm such a big proponent of people who actually have experience in business, in private markets where capital is limited and has to be spent the most efficiently, being politicians. Because when you leave career politicians who have no idea how to run a lemonade stand, that's how you get situations where the federal government spends $90 million and gets like 12 electric school buses out of it. Like, what are these people doing with your money? Now, speaking of Democrat liars, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre was exposed as she's on her way out of her job for being one of the biggest grifters and liars on behalf of the Democrat White House. Watch.
Let's get a little bit of a look back at some of the highlights.
Do we have to?
Who some people call Binder, Karine Jean-Pierre.
Title 42 is going to be lifted. Yes, it will. But we are going to move to Title 8. The border is not open.
Is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
Well,
I just said no. I just answered. Go ahead. Instead of Republicans, focusing on the president's performance in office and what he's been able to accomplish, his actual record, they do these cheap fakes.
Is there a real alarm happening behind the scenes that the president is simply too old to stake around for another 4 years?
No, there's no alarm happening behind the scenes. I would put the president's stamina, president's wisdom, ability to get this done on behalf of the American people against anyone.
She had to be one of the worst press secretaries ever. From her face, to her outfits, to her consistent lying, and didn't even have the skill to spin her lies in a convincing way. I would normally say we'll probably just see her on MSNBC like we did with Jen Psaki, but because we know MSNBC's ratings are down by like 60% and they're forcing everybody to take pay cuts, I'm sure she's not going to get a job there, and I pray that we never have to see or hear from Karine Jean-Pierre ever again. The entire last 4 years of Democrats running the show can be described as chaos, ineptitude, and just bold-faced lying. And now while Democrats are crying and losing their minds over Trump being backed by Elon Musk, President Biden awarded a Medal of Freedom to George Soros, one of the most evil, nefarious, globalist, one world government proponent billionaires who collects Democrat politicians like their Pokemon cards. You want to talk about a billionaire influencing politics? No one holds a candle to George Soros. And Joe Biden awards this man a Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian honor. Watch.
Accepting on behalf of George Soros is Alex Soros. The Presidential Medal of Freedom is awarded to George Soros. Born into a Jewish family in Hungary, George Soros escaped Nazi occupation to build a life of freedom for himself and countless others around the world. Educated in England, he settled in America as he became an investor and philanthropist, supporting key pillars of open societies: rights and justice, equity and equality, freedom now and in the future. His inspiring generosity reminds us all of our capacity and our obligation to stand up to the abuse of power and to be guardians of democracy and all people yearning to be free.
Again, back to Chuck Schumer's point of we should salute Biden. For what? I mean, the Democrats are just hypocrites. They're liars. They're race baiters. They're the true threat to democracy and all of our institutions. Don't forget that the Colorado Supreme Court, a fully Democrat Supreme Court, tried to kick Trump off of the ballot for the election for causing an insurrection when he hasn't even been convicted of anything. Now, if you guys didn't see my last video about the Democrat House leader, Hakeem Jeffries, literally destroying Biden in front of the entire Congress for ruining America, make sure you guys click that video. It'll pop up on screen at the end of this one. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Turn on those beautiful notification bells so you never miss a video. And I will see you guys in the next one.